mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic.
Hey everybody, welcome back to One Mic, where I watch shit so you don't have to. And today I'm here to talk about Season 2, Episode 1 of HBO's Euphoria, entitled Trying to Get into Heaven Before They Close the Door. I believe that's the title. Yes, it is. Normally I have the title in the title of the episode in the episode title for my video, but with it being such a long title, I decided to forego that. But I still decided I wanted to say it here because I want to talk about the title briefly, just because I feel like it kind of plays into, I think, what this show is about and what was happening in this episode. So I think it kind of in a very direct way ties into what Lexi and Fez were talking about when Lexi talked about, well, when Fez cited his grandmother's McDonald's analogy, and Lexi essentially said, like, if I was God, I wouldn't let the McDonald's CEO in there. And I think kind of this title speaks to the idea of trying to do good before it's too late. And I think a lot of these characters, well, not a lot, some of them, our main characters, I think, are trying to do just that. You know, they try to do good, but they just can't seem to they can't quite seem to get over that hump. I think Fez is probably the best example of that, and he's the focal point of this episode. And he's someone who, I think, without a doubt, even though even though Fez is a drug dealer, and even considering what he did at the end of this episode, I think we all agree that Fez is like the best person on this show. Like, as far as like being a good person, like Fez is the best person. Like, he's a good dude. Like, he wants the best for Rue and really anybody who he's cool with. He cares very deeply about the people who are close to him. But there's a guy who just can't. His life circumstances just don't allow him to be good, and he's unfortunately been in that situation since he was a kid, as we saw in the opening sequence, the flashback to Fez's childhood. Which, before I get into that, I kind of want to talk about Euphoria as a whole really, really, really quick, because it kind of ties into some of my thoughts on this episode. This show got a lot of criticism for being overly gratuitous, kind of like gratuitous for gratuitous sake, and prioritizing style over substance. And I kind of agree with both of those criticisms of the show. I think that both of those things happen, but I feel like the show doesn't get enough credit for the good things it does, like highlighting addiction, highlighting how addiction can rupture relationships, just not even rupture, just how it can affect or impact the relationships between the addict and the people who are close to him or her. And this show also, I think, did a really good job of, I like what they did with Jules. Jules, the character and the actor, because the Hunter Schafer is trans, but like, the show never highlights that. And I thought that was super cool, because I feel like when you highlight it, you're making it seem as something unusual. Like, if you like look at it like, hey, look, we got this trans character and they're dating this, female character on the show, and look how woke we are, and I like the fact that they don't highlight that at all. Like, you kind of got to put the pieces together to kind of figure it out. Because like, I don't know if anybody, I think I put a Euphoria season 1 review in like the audio version of this show before I started the YouTube channel. But in that, wherever it is, it might be on the YouTube. My beard looks weird to me. I keep touching it, I'm like, it looks weird. I think in season 1, that was one of the best things they did when they chose not to highlight that. And there was times you could pick up on it. Like, I started to notice it. Like, it took a few episodes. I'm kind of like, okay, wait, what's like, okay, like, I noticed certain things. And they never highlighted that, and I respected that, the fact that they didn't feel like this was something that needed to be pointed at or highlighted or shouted from a rooftop. So, like, I think this show made a lot of great decisions in season 1, and then the two kind of like bottle episodes that were released in between season 1 and season 2 were incredible, particularly the Rue episode. And those things highlighted really big character beats, which the show, like I said, is criticized for being more style over substance. And I think the show should get credit for when it does highlight these character beats and has episodes like that Rue episode. And I'm hoping that season 2 will be kind of more in the vein of the Rue and Jules solo episodes that were released in between the seasons than season 1 as a whole, because it is flawed in the fact that I do agree that it prioritizes style over substance at times. But I just wanted to give it credit for the things that it does right, because a lot of that's present here in this episode. I think everything is present in this episode, both the pros that I just spoke of and the cons that the people who are the show's detractors speak of as well. But I'm going to start with the stuff that I liked, that I thought was more in vein with when I think Euphoria is doing its best work, and that's going to be with pretty much everything involving Fez. That the backstory thing that we got at the beginning, where we see him with his grandmother, and everything about that was supremely interesting. And there's a couple of things that I picked up on in that, not in that, but the that I noticed later that referred back to that scene. But I'll get into those things in a moment. But that scene, not can't say a scene, but that whole opening sequence, I thought was really informative for Fez's character, and we see it throughout the episode how him being raised by his grandmother and the circumstances around it with his father. Apparently, his father beats him, or did beat him. The acquisition of Ashtray, which I thought that was crazy. All of those things, how they serve to make Fez the guy he is now. And then his grandmother dying while he was still young, so now he's got to run this business and he's got to raise this kid, and just having to grow up at an early age. And when people criticize this show, they talk about in this like, hey, it's just teens doing gratuitous shit, lots of fucking, lots of drugs and all this, and it's just shocking for the sake of shocking. But when you have moments like this where you see that backstory with Fez, it shows you that, like, these are people who were forced to grow up at an early age. And when you're forced to grow up at an early age, this is the kind of shit you end up doing. So, like, that kind of character building, I think, is what the show should be getting a little bit more credit for. And then when you move on to after we finish the backstory sequence, we move into Fez, Ash, and Rue trying to find a new drug supplier, or going to meet with a new drug supplier. All that really intense, really nerve-wracking, really interesting choices. For instance, like the guy that was making everyone take their clothes off was giving me, like, this scene was giving me big Reservoir Dogs feels, which if you've seen Reservoir Dogs, there's a scene where Michael Mann's character dances to music while he's about to cut a guy's ear off. And that's kind of what they're playing some music, the guy's dancing, and he's making everybody strip down to check him for a wire, throws Rue into the shower, turns it on, presumably, I'm guessing, to get the wire wet in case she is wearing one, and checks her as well. And I just thought that scene was really good tension in that scene. And I appreciate it. I don't know if it was intentional, but I appreciated the kind of Reservoir Dogs kind of feel that they gave to it. And then there's a moment after everything is settled down, where the woman who's in charge, basically asks what happened to Mouse, which we see in earlier with Ash beating him over the head with a hammer. And Fez basically goes, I didn't like the way he did business. And she says, this is coming from somebody who brings a kid to a drug deal. And he says, that's not a kid, that's my partner, which is the same thing that his grandmother said to him. And he later does the same thing again with the McDonald's thing when he's talking to Lexi. And like I said, that this is character building here. Like, these are the things that we now see, like how formative his early years were, with him dealing with what he dealt with, having to be raised by his grandmother, but really not even raised, like brought in as a drug dealing associate. And that's how he grew up. So, like, when you see him making these constant references to things that his grandmother told him in the opening, that lets you know, like, this is a guy who still kind of operates on what he was taught by his grandmother when he was a kid as a drug dealer. And that's a crazy kind of life to live. And that's how you end up in a situation. That's how you end up doing the shit that he did at the end of the episode. So, really great stuff with Fez in this episode. I also like how she said, well, I don't like this. I like it as a plot point, but I don't like how it made me feel, which is she says, after he answers the thing about Ash being his business partner, she says, well, you also brought a teenage girl or something like that to a drug deal. And he, says, like, he trusts her with his life. And trusting Rue with your life does not speak well to your life continuing. And I'm hoping that's not like a foreshadowing of Rue doing something that gets Fez killed, because one, I absolutely like Fez is a great character. Probably my favorite character on the show in a way. There's a goodness in him that I think just kind of resonates with me a little bit more. But there's so much complexity with Rue that there's a battle there. But nevertheless, if they were to kill off Fez, that would that would do a lot to making this show difficult to continue watching, to say the least. Because I think this show needs balance and it needs someone like Fez. Let's see. So I also liked him and Lexi hitting it off at that party. Like that was like a rare heartwarming moment that didn't involve Rue and Jules. And I like seeing them together. I feel like that's a good pair. And I feel like she can maybe bring him down a little bit, help him normalize just a little bit. And my concern is that what happened at the end of the episode could be something that could mess up that potential relationship. He had just gotten her number. He said she was the coolest person there. All this great stuff. They had a great conversation about religion and how can you be religious and deal drugs, like all these kinds of things that are meant to make you think. These are the thoughts that I had when I considered I'm not gonna say what I considered drug dealing. When I was considering religion, a lot of the thoughts that I had revolved around the idea of people who trumpet faith and everything that they read in the Bible, but then go out and directly contradict everything that they claim to believe in. And it's too common. It's not like it's something like, oh, these people are flawed. Like, no, it's too common. And it seems like they all do that. And those are the kinds of conversations, those are the kinds of thoughts that I had. So to kind of see that conversation kind of taking place between Lexi and Fez, I thought was really cool. So I really enjoyed that aspect too. And I hope that he didn't screw that up with what he did with Nate. He probably did, but hopefully it'll be something that'll be repaired. I also thought it was interesting after I don't know if this is intentional or not, but well, I mean it's definitely intentional, but I don't know if it landed with the audience the way they might have intended it to. But after Fez beats the shit out of Nate, and that was brutal, by the way. I didn't think that looked like it went on way too long. Like his face is gonna be a mess. But they carry Nate out of the party, like arms underneath his arms, pick him up by his legs. He's completely out cold. And as they're taking him out of the room, the credits start and they start playing "I Just Died in Your Arms Tonight." I'm like, are we to take away from this that Nate's dead? Like, I mean, I that'd be an interesting direction to go. I don't personally think Nate is dead, but I wonder if I feel like they did that on purpose to make us wonder if Nate is dead. But I wonder if it was too subtle by just having it in the music, if it landed with audiences, if they were looking like, oh shit, am I supposed to think Nate's dead? Like, I don't know if that landed with them. It didn't even land with me originally. I watched the episode twice. The second time I kind of skimmed through it a little bit. Because admittedly, one of my favorite things to do with Euphoria is to watch it high, because I feel like it enhances the experience, because you like, especially with all the colors and things that they do with the cinematography, it enhances the experience to be high while you watch it. So, but that also inhibits my ability to fully comprehend and remember everything that I saw. Even though I take notes, I'll read my notes on Monday morning like, what the fuck is it? Like, but nevertheless, I thought it was an interesting song choice. And I wonder if that landed with the audiences or not. So you can let me know in the comments if it did. A couple of things that I didn't like. I thought everything with the secondary and tertiary characters was not that interesting. Nate, Cassie, Maddie, the black guy that was with the new character that was with, what's his name? Tyrone, Travis. That stuff wasn't very interesting to me. The whole idea of Cassie and Nate hooking up, Cassie feeling regret over, Maddie being her best friend. Then we see Nate later trying to telling McKay, right? Yeah, that he's still trying to get back with Maddie, which was real interesting since you were just smashing her best friend in the bathroom. Like all that kind of stuff, that doesn't really interest me. That's when the show feels like really high school, and I'm like, I don't care about this kind of shit. I do think it's interesting. Well, I'm gonna save this for actually my thoughts at the end. Actually, a little piece about Nate. I also thought this episode felt a little bit herky-jerky. Like, it didn't really feel like it got rolling. It felt very chaotic almost. And I think that was intentional. I feel like when you have so many people on so many different substances, it's a chaotic world. And you're at a New Year's Eve party. It's meant to feel chaotic, but I don't know. This is probably just because I was high. But but like it was a difficult watch for me last night kind of get through it, because it just kind of felt like a bunch of things happening, like things firing at you left, right, firing at you. And I'm kind of like, wait, what's going on? Like, you don't come with this episode after being off the air for 2 years and you only give me a like a 1 minute season 1 recap. Like, no, I'm gonna need a little bit more than 1 minute to to fully remember everything that happened before that I'm going to need to take into this. And then to have like such a chaotic feeling episode, it was just a weird vibe for the premiere. I don't know if it threw anyone else off, but it was just a little bit weird for me. Like, I would have liked to have seen something a little bit more, I don't know, just a little bit easier to follow, I guess. And then Rue and Jules got virtually no screen time. They don't even see each other until, I would say, maybe like the final 5-10 minutes. They really draw out this scene where Rue apologizes to Jules, which, well, I mean, hey, it's a criticism. It was a little drawn out. That scene went on a little bit too long for me, but that's why I'm not sure if it was the last 5 or 10 minutes, but we'll just say 10 minutes. But they should have gotten a little bit more screen time. I think there was a lot to be resolved between them, especially given the bottle episodes in between seasons. So I would have liked to have seen a little bit more from them and a whole lot less of Nate, Cassie, McKay, Maddie. Like, those are the 4 least interesting characters on the show. Like, they got way too much screen time here and not enough Rue and Jules screen time. So a couple of things that I didn't particularly like, but I think they're very small criticisms overall regarding the episode compared to how much I loved virtually everything that they did with Fez. And since Fez was the focal point of the episode, that makes the episode 2 thumbs up for me. So a couple of thoughts to close out. I thought Cassie was going to get hereditary when she stuck her head out of the window after spilling the beer all over her dress. If you haven't seen Hereditary, you're not going to get that reference. But if you've seen Hereditary, I'm certain not only do you get the reference, but you thought the same thing. Because I even read a review after it that said the exact same thing. Like, I thought they were going to get Hereditary. Because that's what me and my wife said when we were watching it. Like, oh, I thought Cassie's about to get Hereditary. So I don't know if that Hereditary became a thing before last night, but it's a thing now. And if you haven't seen the movie, it's really good, actually. I'm not a big horror fan, but it's actually a pretty good one. And if you see that, you'll immediately get the reference. Well, not immediately. You'll get it when that happens. The scene where Nate was asking McKay about the nature of the sex that he assumed McKay had with Cassie, on the surface, real gross, over the top, graphic language from Nate. And he's just like, and you're sitting there like McKay, just like, dude, come on. But that scene, I think, was really true to not just Nate's character, but to kind of like the teenage behavior and mindset. He just got through having sex with Cassie in the bathroom. And no matter how much he wants to, in his mind, create some headcanon where it was just a fling, he more than likely now has some sort of feelings and some sort of jealousy at the idea that she could have had sex with him and then went right back to McKay. And that is how I believe jealousy would manifest in a person like Nate, by like doing some over the top macho bullshit. Like, I feel like that's how somebody like Nate would behave if they're inside, they're concerned. And it's not just like typical male, like, inquisitiveness, like, oh man, what'd you do? Like, let me do what happened. Like, he was probing because he wanted to know, because he was jealous because he had just been with her. So if she had just been with McKay after that, he'd have felt away. He'd have felt away about it. So he was trying to figure that out. And I think forming it into some overly macho bullshit is exactly what Nate would have done. So even though that scene is so cringe when it's happening, I think it's really true to how Nate would behave and how a teenage male would behave in that situation, in those circumstances. And then lastly, what is going to be a weekly segment on my Euphoria videos, the weekly dick count. I've never seen more dicks in a show than I saw in Euphoria season 1, to the point where it's laughable. And now it's like, it's become a thing where I feel like people look at it like that, like, oh, that's the show to show all the dicks. So I've gotten curious now on just how much they do this. So I'm going to start trying to keep count. And it's going to be called the dick count. And I'm just going to, in my thoughts at the end of every week, I'm going to give you the dick count. And then maybe I'll even give you a total, which I could keep up with by putting it in the description in the video. But dick count this week was 3. We saw the Fez's father at the strip club, fully fully hard. I can't even say if this is the first hard dick they've shown. Like it might be, it might not be. I don't know. The other drug dealer who was there with Fez at the scene, at that scene where they made everyone strip down, Fez covered his, the other guy didn't. And then the guy who came in to take a shit as Cassie was getting out of the bathtub after her scene. So dick count of 3 this week. I'm certain we are going to have probably a week where that number reaches double digits, but we'll see. I do plan on covering this every week. I loved this show, season 1, despite the fact that I agree with the criticisms that were levied against it. I don't think the show gets credit for the things that it does well, and it does a lot of stuff really, really well. And I really enjoy it. It's a fun. I can't even call it a guilt watch. Like I don't feel guilty about enjoying the show. It's fun, but I love this show. I love Zendaya. I thought those 2 bottle episodes were incredible, and I fully intend on covering all however many episodes there are this season. So I'll see you guys every Monday. Maybe even no every Monday. No Sundays. I'll see you guys every Monday for reviews of each episode. Peace.